All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about inside of Avid Media Composer, now that we have an edited sequence put together, is we're going to talk about trimming. And I will be honest, for me, what really makes a great editor is their ability to trim. Yeah, you can do special effects and you can do lightsabers, you can do all kinds of cool things and weird edits and all layers upon layers if you wanted to get into compositing or visual effects. But if you want to consider yourself a really good editor, you want to focus on how you trim it once it's down the timeline. And trimming happens once clips are down the timeline and once we built a sequence. So we're going to focus on Avid's trimming tools, which I really like. Avid has built some really nice sense of trimming tools that are available for us and some things we can use. Now, trimming happens at the cut point. So if we remember this sequence, we had this series of B-roll here, some music underneath. We're going to mute the music for just a second, and we're going to look here at the video. So it's clip, clip, clip. And then it's going to cut to this first.
So the Minority
interview.
Male Initiative is going to be.
Now, I want to bring up the waveform on these audio tracks so we can visualize these waveforms. You can do that in two ways. Up here in the fast menu or down here, you can go to audio data and you can choose waveform, and boom, waveform will show up and you'll see waveform on this. That's one way of doing it. So under audio data, waveform brings up waveform for everybody. But I like really over here, this little button. It's kind of hard to see. It's kind of in a weird place. I never really liked where this button is located. It's next to the timecode window. It says track control panel. When you open up track control panel, it opens up this kind of breakout area here. And so you see this track control panel that opens and shows us this control panel that we have available. And within here, we have the ability to individually set up waveform here. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to use the zoom slider here to zoom in. We can see that we have these three clips in a row. And then we have...
So the Minority Male Initiative.
Then we have Fidel saying, so the Minority Male Initiative is going to be a conference, blah, blah, whatever. And so he begins his sentence with the word so. And I want to say...
So the Minority Male...
I want to get rid of the word so. I want to delete the word so. The so
Minority Male
is kind of unnecessary in this case. It's kind of a...
So the Minority Male.
And I say, you know what, let's just forget about so. So I'm going to use some basic trim tools. And this is some trim within the timeline tools. And up here, we have these two trim controls. If you right click on this button, this little red and yellow button that looks like a little roll of film or a roll of toilet paper or something, you can right click on this and can choose either the yellow guy or the red guy. Right now, the yellow guy and the red guy are both enabled simultaneously. But we can choose one of these and choose yellow guy. So we're going to choose yellow guy here, and we have yellow guy up. And now when I do this, when I have the yellow guy up, I can go to the cut point here. I'm just going to cut point here, and we're going to look at either edge of the cut point here. And I'm going to choose this edge of the cut point here. We're going to turn this off for a second and turn this on. And we're going to cut point. And when you see, when you get close, when this is on, this button needs to be on, not just selected, but also on. And when this button is on, when we go close to the edge of the cut point, you will see I will hit this thing and it'll put what I used to refer to as rollers, what Avid long ago used to refer to rollers. This is what's called ripple trim in Avid nowadays, but I will still refer to it as a roller. And what it suggests is that this video here, this segment on the timeline consists of this video, and then the rest of the video is kind of rolled up underneath, kind of hidden behind here. It's almost like it's like wrapped up like a piece of toilet paper, basically, or a roll of film, I guess, a roll of video, if you remember that. Anyway, so I'm going to grab this edge here, and this is what's called a single roller. And this single roller rolls up this way, and right here is the word so. So this little nub right here is the word so. We can play this back and see.
So the minority.
We're going to zoom in really close so you can really make that out.
So the Minority Male.
So right here.
So the Minority Male.
Around here.
So the Minority Male.
Yeah, right here is going to be the Minority Male Initiative.
The Minority Male Initiative.
Kind of right about there.
So the Minority Male Initiative.
All right, so we're going to grab this edge and we're going to pull this back. And when I pull this back, it's going to pull back the video and the audio. And the reason why it's pulling back both the video and audio, when you notice when I click on the video, it's pulling back the audio, is because of this wonderful little button right here called the link selection toggle. If this button wasn't on, for example, it would only grab the video, in which case I could hold down shift and grab the audio as well. But just to make my life easier, I'm going to leave this link selection toggle on, and we're going to grab this here and pull here. And now I'm going to pull this back, and it's going to kind of rip off the head of this. We'll call this the head of the segment. It's going to rip off the head of the segment and pull back. And we'll just pull back to there. And now we're going to play this again. Now, what's nice is that when you hit the space bar now, it'll play about 2.5 seconds before, about 2.5 seconds after. Here it comes.
So the Minority Male.
All right, we're getting a little bit of the so. So we're going to pull off a little bit more. We pulled off 6 frames. We're going to pull back a couple more frames, 2 more, 8 frames total.
So the minority male.
Are you getting a little bit of the minority male initiative? So we're going to pull one more frame. That's 9 frames. Let's see.
The minority male.
No, there's still a bump there. One more frame. All right, now we're at 10.
The minority male initiative is.
All right, so that sounds clean. It sounds like he's saying the minority male initiative. He's not saying anything else. It's there.
The minority male initiative is going.
Now, that sounds great. Now, that sounds cool. That's exactly what we want to hear. But I decide after listening to this, it sounds a little bit abrupt. It sounds like we don't even get a chance to let Fidel breathe for a second before he answers. It's like we see Fidel's face and he's already mid-talking, and it just feels awkward. Just the style, it feels...
The minority male.
It's like, boom, hey, he's there. He's talking at you. Like, I didn't even get a chance to look at his face for a second. And I say, you know what? My negotiation is I feel like I didn't like the word so. The so was unnecessary, but there's a little bit more of a breath before so, and I feel like I could get the so back. So now we're going to grab the head of this clip here, and we're going to roll some footage back on. And you're going to see what that's going to do. You'll see little kind of phantom marks or little just a ticker mark there that just shows as I roll this back on, it's going to roll back, points back on, and we're going to get the so back. So we're pushing now to the left, and I'm pulling, pushing, and I get the so back on there. And I'm going to go here and see.
So the minority male.
Yeah, that feels better. I don't know. It just feels more like a better breath. Now, we just undid everything we just did, which, you know, may happen when trimming. You may decide that you do something, you say, hey, let me trim it, see if I can make it better. And if you don't, you put it back. That's one of the wonderful things about nonlinear based editing. Computer-based editing allows you to undo something or just try something and say, hey, if I don't like it, undo or go back.
So the minority.
Now, if we look at this clip of Fidel here, you might remember that here, at this point here, he says,
so the minority
male initiative. But then before that, if we rewind,
okay, so
he says, okay, so. And so before he says this, he says, okay, so.
Okay, so
and we decided that we wanted to get rid of the okay. We didn't want the okay. The okay was unnecessary. It was unimportant. It was irrelevant to us. And we didn't really like the okay. It wasn't really something valuable to us. But someone comes along, a producer comes along and says, hey, you know, Fidel's signature is he always begins every sentence with okay. And that's really his nature. Like you wouldn't have Fidel on this camera here if you didn't have him begin his sentence with okay. That's how he begins a sentence. And everybody loves that about him. That's, you know, he's a character because of it. And we really want the okay back. I don't know. We don't want the okay back. So now we're going to go here to trim, and we're going to, again, push more to the left, and we're going to kind of unravel. We're going to roll out this okay. And so here, right here is the okay. So now we got the okay back.
Okay, so
and now we have a longer sentence. So we still have parts of the original footage here, the original footage that said okay. We still have original parts of this footage that we can kind of get back if we wanted to.
Okay,
so again, trimming here. Now we have this.
Okay, so the minority male initiative is going.
And so this is there. And then someone else comes along, you know, someone else is in charge of the person who's in charge of the person who's in charge. And they say, you know what, the okay is silly. Get rid of the okay. We don't need it. So again, we're going to pull back to the right to eliminate or remove frames from the head of the clip.
So the minority male initiative is going to be.
Okay, so let's do this in another place. Let's go to another place in the timeline and let's look at this again. So let's go over here at the end of Fidel. So we have
about careers that they might be interested in.
So, okay, we have a point here where Fidel ends his sentence. He says, points that his career that they might be interested in. And he says,
careers that they might be interested in.
And with,
okay, and he has got a little bit of a breath there. So he's
interested in.
And he inhales for a bit. And we want to keep this tight. We only have a minimum length of time. We can only make this a 3-minute sequence. And we really need to keep this tight because there's a lot of stuff we want to get in there. And we want to keep this close. So instead of clicking on this edge, which is we'll call this the B side. This is the Wayne side here, the B side. We're going to go in this edge and click on the A side. On the A side, we are at what we would call the tail of the A side. And so at being the tail of the A side, we're going to grab this here and pull backwards this way. Now what we're going to do is remove frames from the back end of the tail up until we get to this point here, just where he ends his sentence. And so we're going to pull back and we're going to remove frames from the tail here of Wayne or Fidel.
Information about.
We're going to go one more frame, just kind of pull back even more, and we're going to go here and we're going to back up.
About careers that they might be interested in.
And when there's an
all right, so that was super tight.
information about careers that they might.
We could even pull back maybe one more frame. There we go. One more frame.
About careers that they might be interested in.
And when the
If we pulled back this much,
information about careers that they might be interested
and when
we just lost his end of his sentence. We don't want to do that, but we're going to be super tight right here.
about careers that they might be interested in.
and when
But then someone else comes along and says, hey, I like this, but I feel like, we hear Fidel finish his sentence, and it's a really bold sentence. And giving them information about careers they might be interested in, it sounds great, except
Information about careers that they might be interested in.
we kind of cut away from it really aggressively. We kind of cut away from it, like we're not even listening to him. Like he finished his sentence, and then we moved on to something else. Like we're just like, okay, cool, whatever. You had something to say. No, maybe we want a beat there. Maybe we want a breath of, hey, I'm going to end this sentence with a piece here that has something here that does something. So now we got to debate the breath. So let's give a long breath here. We're going to grab this. And in this case, since we're on the tail end of Fidel, we're going to push to the right to add more frames. So this is backwards from being on this side. We're going to be on this A side here. And we're going to push this way. And we're going to push, 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 push. And now we have a super long pause. And we're actually starting to get into part of my next question here. So this sounds like this.
They might be interested in.
All right, that's too long. So let's pull back to the left. Now we're removing frames from the tail. So we're on the A side and we go to the left, we're removing frames from the tail. And we're on the A side and we go to the right, we're adding frames to the tail.
Careers that they might be interested in.
and when there's
All right, so that's a really long breath. That's a really nice long breath there.
Careers that they might be interested in.
Is that awkward? Maybe that's too long. I don't know. And now you're getting into this debate of how much do you want, how much of a pacing, how much of a beat do you want?
About careers that they might be interested in.
and when there's
Yeah, is that enough? Do we want more?
About careers that they might be interested in.
and
What feels natural?
About careers that they might be interested in.
and when
Like what feels good about
About
this?
that.
But you can just adjust this. You can just roll this back and roll this forward to add these frames on a blank space. But they matter. They affect the whole rhythm of the thing. You see in conversation, especially in dialogue, you see this
About,
kind of nature
careers
of
that they might be interested in.
and when there's an
like what feels really
About,
smooth,
careers that they might be interested in.
and when
what feels really
About,
nice.
careers that they might be interested in.
and when
And you will see if you're ever in an edit session, people will debate over 1 or 2 frames of a difference.
About careers that they might be interested in.
and when
All right, well, let's leave that. Let's decide that's good enough. We've obsessed over this one enough, but now let's look at the Wayne side here. So Wayne says, so we pick up Wayne here, and Wayne says,
About careers that they might be interested in.
and when there's an opportunity
Wayne says, and when there's an opportunity. So Wayne says, and when there's an opportunity.
About careers that they might be interested in.
and when there's an opportunity
So we don't like the word and. We decide that the and is a necessary. It's a conjunction of an earlier part of Wayne's sentence that becomes a necessary. So why is he saying and if he's at the beginning of a sentence?
About careers
Or-
that they might be interested in.
and when there's
What we believe is the beginning of a sentence. Why is he saying and here? So why is that? That's unimportant. So let's go to the Wayne side and let's pull back the Wayne side. And this time, again, we're at the head of B. And so, again, this is A, this is B. We're at the head of B, and we're going to pull back and remove some of these frames from Wayne.
About careers that they might be interested in.
when there's an opportunity
Let me do one more frame here. We're at 9, we go to 10,
About careers that they might be interested in.
when there's an opportunity
and that's cleaner. So that's cleaner. We got rid of the word
Careers that they
and
might be
because we
interested
pulled to the right.
when there's an opportunity
But then again, we can look at this and see this is a different way. When I watch documentaries or when I watch news pieces or when I watch anything, I really like it when there's a bunch of interviews in a row and a bunch of people are talking about the same thing. And sometimes, if they're talking about something that a bunch of people were there for, and they talk about, hey, we were at the concert, and it was great, and we had a good time, and we were there, and we were partying. And they cut to somebody else, and that next person says, and then Ozzy comes on stage and blah, blah, whatever. And I like the conjunctions between people. Sometimes that works for me. Sometimes as an idea, it feels like these interviews are connected, or it feels more, real if these people have these conjunctions between them, like they're finishing each other's sentences. So maybe I decide, for whatever reason, I want the ands back. I know I just got rid of them, but I'm going to say, no, I want the ands back. So we're going to go here, I'm going to go roll this back on and grab the and back.
About careers that they might be interested in.
and when there's an opportunity to
Yeah, I kind of like that. And in this case, maybe I want to make Fidel shorter in this case, because I really feel like going from Fidel, it's like Wayne just picks right up and he's like, and when there's an opportunity. So we're going to cut this a little bit back here and we're going to trim this.
About careers that they might be interested in.
And when there's an opportunity.
Yeah, I really like them kind of finishing each other's thoughts. Like he says, give him interested about careers they may be interested in. He picks up with, and when there's an opportunity to, man, it really just.
About careers that they might be interested in.
And when there's an opportunity.
Yeah, that works for me. That makes sense. Now here, you might have remembered that we earlier, in a previous lesson, we did this thing where we trimmed out parts of Wayne's sentence. And we're going to see how he sounds. I'm going to turn off this monitor here. I have this monitor for track 2. I don't want to see track 2. I just want to focus on track 1. There's going to be a jump cut here, obviously. So
In an event like this to bring these.
But let's just forget about the video. We're turning off both the monitors. I'm just going to listen to this and see how this sounds. And this is where we get really nitpicky.
Participate in an event like this to bring these.
I feel like I lost the this. It almost sounds like he says the.
To participate in an event like this to bring.
Yeah, there's a bit of an S there, but I'm going to click here and just add one more frame of this on here.
To participate in an event like this to bring these young.
And maybe, I don't know, if this was tighter, and I don't even know. If this is tighter.
To participate in an event like this to bring these young men.
Yeah, that sounds like an edit. And we're kind of trying to hide the edits. And the rhythm just sounds like there's a point that cuts off and a point that adds on. It just. A little bit of breath. And we can add another frame here. We could say one more frame here. Let's
to participate in an event like this to bring these young men.
Yeah, that sounds coherent. That sounds really nice.
Event like this to bring these young men to participate in an event like this to bring these young men together.
Maybe even longer. I don't know. Can we add more of a pause?
To participate in an event like this to bring these young men.
It's too long. I'm going to undo that. So again, we can undo. But
an event like this.
A lot of times when I'm adding edits into the timeline, I think I said this before, when I'm adding into the timeline, sometimes I add the edits in really sloppy. I'll just throw them down because I know I'm going to go back to every single edit and trim it. See, if I care about this, I'm going to trim this really, really well and make sure that all the edits work. We'll do this here again. We'll do this at this point because we did cut this out here.
Continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for us.
This may sound perfect.
Continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for us.
But we don't know. We don't know if it's perfect.
Continuing them to get a college degree is exciting.
So let's see. If we added more breath here, it would sound like this.
And continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for us.
That sounds not like a real person talking, right? That sounds.
Continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for.
So maybe we pull this back. We'll make this super tight. And again, we can play. We have this computer-based system that we can just undo everything we did.
And continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for us as an option.
No, that's too tight. I'm going to undo. Again, undo and leave it just like this.
And continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for us as an option.
And this is that idea that if you look away or turn the monitors off so you can't see anything. And you just listen to it. With this, if you were in another room or you were in the other side of the room and you overheard somebody talking, is this what they would sound like?
Degree is exciting for us as an option.
Yeah, that sounds golden. That sounds fantastic. Everything works there. So you see, again, if I'm on this side and I push to the right, I'm going to add frames onto there. As opposed to if I'm on this side and I push to the right, I'm going to take frames off of the head. And again, if I'm on the A side and I pull to the left, I'm going to remove frames from the tail. But if I'm on this side and I push to the left, I'm going to add frames to the head. Again, when I'm on this side, I'm not messing with this side at all. I'm just pushing one over. And this is called ripple trim because the idea being is that it has a rippling effect. It pushes everything else down the timeline and moves everything further down the timeline as an idea. All right, so that kind of works. So we have this edit here. Again, we could trim this further, but let's look at another place where we have an issue here. I'm going to look at this here. So Wayne says,
degree is exciting for us as an organization.
Okay, so Wayne says exciting for us as an and then he corrects himself and says as an organization. He meant to say it's exciting for us as an organization, but he started to say exciting for us as an opportunity, which wouldn't make sense. And he noticed that, so he corrected himself. And we say, hey, that's just a vocal flub. That's just a language mistake.
Continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for us as an organization.
No big deal. I mean, no one's going to lose sleep over that. That's people are human. They're going to say the wrong word and correct themselves. I do it all this lesson.
And continuing them to get a college degree is exciting for us
But somebody says, hey, we promised Wayne this would be perfect. We're going to make this perfect, and we're going to try and make this perfect. Now we have B-roll over this, so we can kind of hide it with the B-roll.
get a college degree is exciting for us as an opportunity.
So we're going to get rid of this section right here. This is as an opper. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here on V1, A1, A2, and I'm going to add an edit. And I can do that with this button right here, the add edit button. And I can say, let's add an edit right here. So I'm going to add a cut right in the middle of this. So I'm going to cut Wayne right in half. Now I could just go and put a mark in point and a mark out point, and I could try to extract out this section here and see what that sounds like.
Exciting for us as an organization is exciting for us as an organization.
And again, that sounds sloppy. So what we're going to do instead here is we're going to say, let's do this. Let's get rid of these points here. And we're going to say we're going to add an edit here. So we're going to hit this button and add an edit right there. And we're going to add an edit right in this sequence.
For us as an organization.
So let's trim this. Now we can trim this just like as long as there's a cut point, we can trim. So let's pull this back a little bit and pull this a little bit like this and see what we get.
And them to get a college degree is exciting for us as an organization.
That sounds awkward. It sounds sort of okay.
And them to get a college degree is exciting for us as an organization.
But if you were listening to this at home, you'd go, hey, I know I'm looking at something else, but I can hear the edit. And we don't want that. We don't want to be able to hear the edit.
And them to get a college degree is exciting for us as an organization.
Now we could click and drag and pull this back and forth, but you'll notice that when we go here, when we're here, we were like this. And now here in this display, when we click and add the trim, we go into what's called trim mode. Now this screen, the buttons change a little bit. You'll see the buttons will change a little bit, and we'll go into what's called trim mode. Now there's about 16 different ways to get into trim mode. I can show you several of them. We can click here and go into trim mode, and that would put us here into trim mode, and that's automatically boom into trim mode there like so. We can hit the U key, the letter U. If we go close to the edit and hit the U key, we can go into trim mode, and that'll put us in trim mode as well. So that's another button that'll put us there into trim mode and jump us in trim mode. But we can just click there and go to trim mode. You can also, if you're near it, you can go to this button right here and hit trim mode, and that'll put you in trim mode. Boom. That guy will put you in trim mode. And realistically, what you can also do is if you hover above and you can drag a selection or a lasso around this edit, you can go to trim mode as well. So you can do that. Again, there's about 6 other ways to do it, to go to trim mode. Excuse me. There's some other controls that'll put us in trim mode here. Let's see, where were we? Cool. Let me zoom out a second. I lost where we were. Oh, there's Aaron. And so here, right here, I believe the A and S keys will jump you between cuts in trim mode, so you can jump between cuts. But anyway, we're in trim mode. We're there. There's probably more ways to jump in trim mode. But we're going to go here, and we're going to click here, and we're going to put our cursor into trim mode. And now we can see a couple different things about trim mode. Well, first, as starters, we have this 2 seconds and 12 frames, which is 2.5 seconds. Pre-roll for loop play. So when we hit spacebar and we loop play, or we hit this button and loop play,
and them to get a college degree is exciting for us as an organization.
It loops through and plays that way. So we can change this to like 1.5 seconds. So 1.5 second before and 1.5 seconds before. That's 1 second, 12 frames. And now it's just going to do
is exciting for us as an organization. Degree.
Maybe we'll change this to 1 second. Now it's just going to be a short loop.
Is exciting for us as an organization. Degree is exciting for us as an organization. Degree.
So let's go through here and really kind of control this. Now, when we want to get really fine-tune ability to trim here, what we want to do is we want to be able to click up here. And clicking up here, you'll notice that if I click on this right here, and again, we'll turn this off so we can kind of just see this. If I click here, I'm going to click on this side of Wayne. So I clicked on Wayne's face over here in this screen. This is showing me the outgoing clip. We'll call this the A side here, the A side outgoing clip. This is the tail end of this part of Wayne here. And now here, click here, and now we can click back and forth. So we click back and forth. I can click on A side, B side, A side, B side, A side, B side, A side, B side. I know it's obnoxious, but you get the idea. So I can click on these sides. And you'll see the cursors down here will move. The rollers will move. So now we're going to go here, and I'm going to click on this side. I'm going to go 1, 2. It's going to sound like this.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
Okay, so we want to get to, maybe we'll get to as a.
Is exciting for us as a.
We'll get one more frame.
Is exciting for us as a.
And I'm going to pick this up here and go to this side. And now we're going to go this way again, and we're going to remove frames. Remember, when we're on this side and we go to the right, 1, 2, 3.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
It's double. So we're going to have this. Maybe more. We're going to pick up as a.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
As a. You heard a little bit as a.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
Let's see if we go one more frame this way. Let's see if that makes it better.
is exciting for us as an organization.
Maybe one less frame on this side. Let's try one less frame this way.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
Ooh.
Is exciting for us as an organization. Is exciting
Now,
for us.
there's a breath here, which I could trim out and have it be a little bit tighter here as well. We could try that if you wanted to.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
But I'm cutting the middle of a sentence here. So I'm cutting in the middle of as organization. And I'm cutting right in the middle of the word as and picking up the first half as and the second half as, which I normally wouldn't recommend doing. I wouldn't normally trim that way.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
I wouldn't normally trim that way. But in this case, I had to. If I want to drag, I can click and drag and I can zoom in super close and I can drag one frame at a time. And that may work for me. But I find that up here, the ability to click there and go back and forth and really fine tune with one frame, or you can actually do 8 frames as well. But going forward and backward and trimming back
is exciting for us
you can really test. You saw that when we first tried this one, we did like a number of frames, then we did another one, and then we did another one. We said, you know what? Let's try one more. Well, just because we can, we're going to go one more back on this side. So we're going to go this way to the left. Tell me if you can hear a difference.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
Nope. Doesn't sound right.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
Again, turn the monitor off. Don't even look at it because it
is exciting for us as an organization.
Yeah, that sounds golden. Let's do one more frame this way. Let's see if that's too much.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
Nope, it sounds weird.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
There's a little pop there. There's a little bit of a stumble there. Again, this is
exciting for us as an organization.
No one would question that.
Is exciting for us as an organization.
Sounds great. If you have the time and you care about the project, trimming really makes it smoother and makes it better and makes it work better. Again, we can do this here. And for a lot of broadsword stuff, maybe I'll just grab here and just pull back. And so we can see this.
Organization.
We're tabling.
Maybe I grab Aaron and I say, hey, let's.
As an organization.
We're tabling.
Yeah, I can do that really broad. But if I really want to get detailed, if I want to add one frame, dragging is okay, but I'm usually sloppy with dragging. 1, 2, 3. And you see the numbers there. This is how I'm looking at the numbers to tell me what I'm dragging and how many frames I'm adding on. So if you really want to add one or more frames, you really want to get that fine scalpel-like precision. You'd be working situations, you're like, maybe just one more frame will make it better. And you can really try this out inside of trim mode. And it gives you this trim mode function, which allows you a lot of control here. And you have this trim mode ability there. And that's really...
We're tabling.
Really spectacular. It really works.
We're tabling.
Really works as an idea to be in a trim mode. So go into trim mode. And again, you click on this side, you have this side. So we're on the A side. Again, I can't specify this enough or stress this enough. Again, I could correct myself now, trim myself out because I said specify instead of stress. It happens. We can't stress this enough. So we're going to say here on the A side, we go this way to the right. We're adding frames to the tail of the A side. We're on this side and we go to the left. We're removing frames from the tail of the A side. We're not touching Aaron at all. If we click on Aaron, we go to the left, which is the opposite. We're adding frames to the head of Aaron and it's extrapolating down. It's a rippling effect down the timeline, making our sequence longer. And then this way, we go on this side and we go to the right. We are pulling frames off of Aaron and we're kind of basically extracting frames there. So this is ripple trim, what I will sometimes call single roller trim. Which brings a question, if there's a single roller trim, why are we specifying that there's a single roller trim? What the heck is a dual roller trim? Well, you'll notice that if we park on a cut point and we hit the U key, we go into 2 rollers. 2 rollers? Why are there 2 rollers? Oh, 2 rollers. What does 2 rollers mean? Well, 2 rollers allow us to use 2 rollers. Well, why in the world would we want to use 2 rollers? Why in the world would we want to use 2 rollers? Well, 2 rollers, and we can click on this. We can click on the A side or the B side, or we can click right in the center, get this other weird symbol. Before we got this really single roll of toilet paper. Now we got single roll of toilet paper. In the center, we got 2 rolls. And so we got dual roller. And dual roller, what's called a rolling trim, will allow us to add frames to one while subtracting frames in the other. So now, if we're in dual roller, and we go to the right, we're going to add frames to the tail of the A side while subtracting frames from the head of the B side. Okay, why would we want to do that? Well, we'll talk about it. And then again, if we go to the left, we're going to subtract frames from the tail of the A side while adding frames to the head of the B side. Yeah, I think I said that right. Well, we'll see. We'll get an idea here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. In this circumstance, I say I have these 3 shots of B-roll. So I have this clip here.
Is really geared toward exposing minority male students to different careers, professionals that work within those careers.
And this edit is weird. This edit's in a weird place.
Exposing minority male students to different careers, professionals that
I don't like the way this edit is set up.
Students
So I want to trim this edit. But what I want to do is I want to add to this frame while subtracting from this frame. Simultaneously right here, I want to add to one while subtracting the other. And the reason I want to do that is because I want this cut to be right here. So he says,
exposing minority male students to different careers.
I want the cut right here. I want the cut to occur right here. So I'm going to go to here and trim right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add frames to this while taking these frames off. And it's going to kind of just overlap and roll the edit this way. And now here I can just move the edit. So it's going to add frames to end of A while removing frames from the head of B and roll the edit over. And so here,
It is really geared toward exposing minority male students to different careers, professionals that work within those careers, and giving them
and I want to move this and. I want to keep the and on here and then cut to giving.
in those careers and giving them in those
So we have it there. And again, here
careers
at the end of
and
Fidel,
giving them information about careers that they might be interested
and I want to cut this. I want to cut out of this clip earlier. So I want to cut that out of this clip earlier. I want to remove frames this way while adding more of Fidel's face back on. So we're just kind of overlapping and rolling that edit.
and giving them information about careers that they might be interested in. Careers and giving them information about careers that they might be interested in.
And when there's an
So we can roll this edit to make it roll.
Information about careers that they might be interested in.
So we have that ability to do that like there. And so we can kind of make this
information about careers that they might be interested in.
and when there's
happen sooner or later
Information about careers that they might be interested in.
and roll those edits like so. And so that is what's called a rolling edit. We can do that to make something longer without pushing the rest of this over. So when we do single roll and we go like this, we kind of push everything over and push everything down. But if we want to take one part of this and make it longer while making the other part shorter, especially when working with B-roll and other ideas like B-roll, we can do that here. And we can do that inside of that.
continuing them to get a college degree.
So again, if we want to make this clip longer to cover over the rest of this, so maybe we don't want to see Wayne the rest of the time.
To get a college degree is exciting for us as an organization.
Again, we'll go to this B-roll up here and we'll say, okay, let's take this.
Continuing them to get a college degree is
And we just want to make this. So we want to make this longer. For example, we want to make this longer, but we don't want to push this over. If we do this here like this, we're going to push this over. It's going to push this clip over. We don't want to do that. We want to push this clip over and then simultaneously subtract these same 37 frames from this side and pull this back. And so we want to do like that. So the trick would be is to go to dual roller. You hover over, it goes to dual roller. And then we can push one over while subtracting from the other one to make this clip longer without messing with this clip, right? We want to add to this while not adding to this and have this add on while subtracting from this. So that is a technique that we can do to make that sort of work. All right, so let's look at something else here. We have this idea of dual roll trimming. And so one of the reasons to do the dual roll trimming is the ability to do what's called an L cut. And we're going to talk about this. I'm going to bring in an edit here. Let's go into B-roll here, and I'm going to look for an edit that I care about that I think is going to work for this as an example inside here. So we're going to find an edit here. We're just going to open this up a little bit and look around and see an edit. This is kind of a mess right now. My window's kind of a mess. So I'm going to go here and go to align and fill and do fill window. So it's a little bit cleaner. The text is really big, but we're gonna look for a clip of somebody talking. We're gonna take this clip here, maybe this guy right here. Again, we'll make this a little bit smaller here and show this here. And we're gonna reduce this in size and have this here. So we're gonna find a clip here, and I just want to throw a clip in here as an idea.
Therefore, his mom constantly put his behavior in check.
In point.
Pete went on, he excelled in math and science, graduated at the top of his class from a public high school in Central Jersey.
All right, we're going to take this clip. It's a 10-second clip. I'm going to put this in between Fidel and Wayne. So we're going to turn on all my tracks here. Just make sure all my tracks are on. And I'm going to, command click to the edge here, and I'm going to put an in point here. So I have an in point, an out point, a corresponding in point. I'm going to splice this in. I'm going to splice this in here, and we are going to put this, boom, and add this clip in here. So now it's going to be Fidel. It's going to look like this.
Those careers and giving them information about careers that they might be interested in.
Pete went on, he excelled.
All right, so we have that kind of, so it's Fidel talking, and then it goes into a clip of, the event, which is really what we want to see. So Fidel talks about the event. Next clip we have is the event.
about careers that they might be interested in.
He went on.
Some live natural footage of the event happening here, like so.
That they might be interested in.
He went on.
Great. Okay, so that's golden. Now, what we want to do here is we want to do what's called a split edit. And a split edit is an old term. It means cutting the audio and the video at different points in time. Now, on computer systems, this has been translated from the term split edit. You'll hear the term L cut, or you may hear the term L cut and a J cut. We can talk about both of what they mean. In a traditional editing system, on a film editing system, you'd have to kind of split the film so that the audio cut earlier than the video. And so it was called a split edit. So the audio timed at a different time in the video. What we want to do here is we want to go here and we click here. Now, right now, with this setup the way that it is, when I click on the video, it clicks on the audio as well. Now, we could go to the link selection toggle and turn that off and not click on the video and the audio as well. We could have just click on one or the other. Or, I'll show you a trick. If this is on, if just for one time you want to do this, you can hold on the Option key or the Alt key on a PC, and you can click here, and it would just select the video. So this undoes that link selection. So normally we click, it does link selection. We Option click, it doesn't do link selection. So that's just a quick, easy fix. Now, here with the link selection, we can say, now I'm going to grab Fidel. I'm going to make Fidel longer, but not make the audio longer. And I'm going to overlap Fidel a little bit over the beginning of this. And we create a nice, interesting effect. And the effect is we have Fidel and we still see Fidel's face, but then we start to sneak in the sound of what Fidel's talking about. So it kind of is this foreshadow of
information about careers that they might be interested in.
He went on.
It's just an effect. It's just a trick. It's a trick to kind of just say, hey, now it creates this kind of like, oh, Fidel's reminiscing about this event.
About careers that they might be interested in.
He went on. He excelled.
Man, that's really cool.
Careers that they might be interested in.
He went on.
And this is called a split edit because the video portion, we'll turn off the audio monitors there, or the waveform. And so the audio cuts here and the video cuts here. And again, we can call this an L cut because it makes a little letter L in the timeline. Technically, we could call this a J cut because it cuts this way. So it cuts this way. It's a backwards L, but it's a J, I guess. Some people call it J, L cut, J cut. I used to always call it a split edit. And then when computer systems first started to get involved in editing systems, they called it, because the way the timeline is laid out, they called it L cuts. And then people got more specific and called it an L cut or a J cut. We could do an L cut this way, in which case we could Option click here and pull this way. So now we're cutting away from Fidel and we're starting to see this shot before he begins his sentences, which is kind of like a B-roll cut into it.
Them information about careers that they might be interested in.
He went on.
It's an interesting effect as well, but I kind of like it better this way. I kind of like this here.
Information about careers that they might be interested in.
He went on.
We could do this as well here. We could do this at the beginning here. And at the beginning, we have this B-roll, 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 B-roll.
Okay, so
and then we have the OK back. We're going to get rid of the OK because I think the OK isn't necessary again. We're going to undo the OK. Let's see. We forgot about the OK. So let's turn on the waveform so we can see the OK. We're going to get rid of the OK and trim that back and get rid of that.
So the minority male.
So we're going to go here to the minority male initiative.
So the minority male.
And we're going to go here and we're going to Option click right here. And we're going to say, let's just roll this so we have a little bit of sneaking clip that lasts longer. So now what happens is we see this B-roll last a little bit longer and we're like, who's this guy talking? I hear his voice. He sounds pleasant, but I can't see him yet.
So the minority male initiative.
It's just a little bit of a delay. It's a little bit of offset delay. If you've ever worked in live television before, you know that sometimes on the switcher, if you have a live TV switcher, you're cutting back and forth between camera 1 and camera 3 and camera 2 and et cetera, all the cameras you have. Sometimes, the TD is a little bit late. And so they cut, in the middle of a sentence, or sometimes they're a little bit early. Somebody starts to ask a question and you get this sense of like, oh, they're going to ask a question that I really want to see the person's face. I really want to see, they're going to talk about something really personal. And I want to cut to, this celebrity's face a little bit early. So they cut a little bit early. They cut a little bit late. They cut a little bit reaction shot before the answer. So you can really get that. We're kind of recreating that idea, that technique here.
So the minority male initiative is
with L cuts, and L cuts really kind of.
So the minority male initiative.
Make this work. So again, this is like the third pass. So, the first pass we went down, we threw edits down the timeline. We made them work, made them look good. They made them, move smoothly. And the second pass we trimmed them and we said, cool, let's trim the heck out of them and trim them all so they all work. And then the third pass, let's throw in some L cuts. Again, we can do this here at the end. So we have here,
high school in Central Jersey.
We can option click, and then we can just roll over Wayne a little bit.
School in Central Jersey.
And when there's an opportunity to,
You know, I like that little bit of a delay. It's a little bit fun delay there,
High school in Central Jersey.
especially when you're cutting from interviews to B-roll, or especially if you're doing fictitious stuff. If you do it in dialogue,
High school
it kind of weaves it and makes the dialogue seem a lot smoother. We'll play with dialogue editing in a future lesson, but we'll talk about that idea. It really
and when there's an opportunity,
works. It just works as an idea. Okay, so a couple other features and a couple other things that we should talk about. There is a control here, and I will be honest, I'm gonna be real with you. It's not one of my favorites. It's not something that I love. There are other people who I know who edit who really appreciate it and really like it as well. If we right click, we can go here to this guy, the red guy, turn the yellow guy off and go to the red guy, and this is called Overwrite Trim. Now, I'll tell you why I don't like Overwrite Trim. I don't use it, and that's really what it comes down to. Overwrite Trim, okay, let's talk about what Overwrite Trim does. So if we have an edit, let's undo a couple a little bit. Let's undo a couple there. If we have an edit like this, we can go to this side, and what this is going to do is it's going to make this red guy here, and this red guy will overwrite this clip on top of this clip, like that. And you say, but didn't we just do that with dual role? Yeah, we did.
So the Minority Male Initiative.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So I can be in the yellow guy, and I stay in the yellow guy. I can be in the yellow guy, and I can go like this, and I can dual roll, or sorry, I can option click and dual roll, and then I can go like this. And that's, rather than go to a different tool to do this, it's you know, theoretically doing something different, but for me, it's the same thing. At the end of the day, it's the same effect. It's adding more to this clip while removing more of this clip, which is just a dual roll trim. I can still dual roll trim. I can still do it there, but this allows me to do it there. The only big difference about the Overwrite Trim is it allows me to grab and pull backwards and remove frames and leave a gap. So this is more like a lift that leaves a big, huge gap. And again, I say, this is not something I do often. I don't often just randomly decide that I want to just remove some section of a clip at the cut point and cause a huge gap there and pull a huge gap out. I don't do that regularly. Now, that's not saying it's wrong. There are other editors who do that all the time. They're like, oh, I love adding little gaps so I can move stuff around. I can reposition stuff, and I can just take a clip out and just kind of just cut a hole there and leave it. I don't know why I would do that unless I really wanted to have
to participate in to bring the
that's never necessary. I mean, I'm usually doing something else other than edit like that. It's just not part of my workflow. And so here, I just don't want to show it to you so you know that it exists. But if I want to cut here and cut this as a gap out and cut a black space in here,
to come to Brookdale and then transfer into NJCU.
I can do that. I don't do that. Normally, I'm in the yellow guy 9 times out of 10, and I'm here, and I'm just either making the clip longer or, you know, rolling the edit, in which case I can option click and just roll the edit and then create an L cut, a split edit, as you will, as an idea. So that is the thing. I mean, you can do that, but it's not something I do. It's not something that is part of my regular process. If you have both of these on, both the red and the yellow guy, just to be clear, if you have both red and yellow guy, now you can do both, which is really tricky to me, which is really weird to me. Which means if I'm here, I'm going to do a single roll, and if I'm here on the top half of this clip, I'm going to do an overwrite. So you can see I have the best of both worlds here. Just bottom of the clip, top of the clip, kind of like segment mode. We've talked about this before. I can do that. I don't do that. Again, I'm going to stick on yellow guy. Yellow guy is the way I go. And if you don't need it, turn it off. I mean, you can leave it on normally, but if you want to, if it gets in the way, if you find yourself accidentally trimming something and making a big mess, you can leave it off. And so it's there. I do want to talk about a couple settings that exist inside of here. So we'll go to Avid Media Composer Preferences, or we can go to Edit, or we can go to File Settings, Command-Shift equal, and we can look at Settings. And in here, in the User Settings, a couple of user settings that we can look at. Down here in the Trim Settings, there's the Play Loop, which is the pre-roll, post-roll, which we can just manipulate on screen. But Features, under Features, there is a feature for JKL trimming. We talked about JKL for playing. So here, if you are playing a clip, you can use JKL, L to go forward,
Graduated at the top.
J to go backwards, K to go pause, double L, triple L, go forward and backward, and you can roll that way. If you're in trim mode, though, this is the thing to be careful of. If you're in trim mode and you are trimming, now L will trim you forward
And then when
or trim you backward.
and then when
The only way to play this clip back, to play this loop back, is to spacebar.
Jersey, and then
And when the
Otherwise, if you're using JKL, if you get used to using JKL, the second you go into trim mode, it's gonna JKL trim. Now, some people love this. Some people like the actual physicality of, rolling forward and rolling backward and just pausing exactly where they want this edit to stop. They can use that trim as an idea. That, again, works wonders. It's great. It's fantastic. But I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan because I do this accidentally all the time. I accidentally hit the L key to play, and next thing you know, I'm trimming. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to turn that off. It doesn't work the way that I want it to. So now here, even if I'm here in trim mode, hit L, it's not gonna do anything.
in Central Jersey,
I've messed up an edit before because I've accidentally hit L before. That's just me because I'm just, careless with my keyboard. So just be careful. You can have that on, you can not have that on. That is a thing that will be a circumstance. Now, let me talk about a really, really important thing about the edit that you may or may not have noticed in how we were doing this edit and how we're making this edit work. If I have this edit here and I decide to make a clip longer, okay, so I click here on this edit point and I go here and it says,
So the minority male.
okay, he says, so the minority male initiative. If I grab this and I push this forward to grab the OK back in. So let's say I go and I grab the OK back in. When I grab the OK back in, it pushes over the video and the audio on V1 and A1 and A2. What it didn't do is it didn't push over the audio on, or the video on V2. And so it didn't make this longer, which means things are getting offset and things are getting moved around and things are getting changed. And that is causing some issue. So if I take this clip and make this clip shorter, let's say I grab this clip and I say, he says,
Pete went on, he excelled in math and science.
and I want to just end this at excelled in math and science. So I go back and I say, let's grab this and pull this back to here. Well, guess what? My B-roll doesn't line it up at all with what I was doing here because I didn't move my B-roll over. That's a problem.
In math and science.
And when there's an opportunity to participate in an event like this, to bring the
My jump cut is back. Man, my jump cut is back. So I want to show this again. If I trim this, I'm going to pull this over, which is going to pull over these tracks, but not these ones. And that's going to mess me up a lot. And that's going to cause some significant.
Pete went on, he excelled in math and science.
and when
That's going to cause some significant problems. Before, when we were zoomed in super close, I was trimming Fidel, adding more on Fidel, taking more off Fidel, etc. I was trimming this like crazy, adding this OK back in here.
Okay, so
Again, I can trim this back and say, yeah, let's get rid of this so here. What am I doing up here on video track 2? So if I have upper layers, video track 2, video track 3, video track 4, and I'm not paying attention, I can run into some big problems. I can throw some things way off. And I've done this before. I've done this where I wasn't paying attention, and now this isn't lined up with where it's supposed to be, and this is longer or whatever, it's shorter, and I throw some things off, and now my video and the audio doesn't line up the way that I want it to line up. And I have to go back and fix everything. So this is where it gets tricky. And this happens where we say, for example, if we do single roller on Fidel, and we only do it on Fidel's on Fidel's video. So now we're doing it on Fidel's video and audio. But let's say we want to go here and we want to say, let's just option click this and only do it on Fidel's video. But now we're doing single roller, not dual roller. Dual roller would be fine because dual roller doesn't make my sequence any longer or shorter. But now we want to do single roller on just Fidel's video. So now we take Fidel's video and push it over more. What's going to happen? Watch this clip over here and watch my audio as well. I'm going to single roll and push this over like so. And guess what I just did? You'll see these errors right here. This is a little -37 is an error. I just pushed this 37 frames over, and now my video looks like this.
they might be interested in.
Pete went on, he excelled in math and science, graduated at the top of his class from a public high school in Central Jersey.
and when there's an opportunity to participate in an event like
And now everything is over a second and a half long off because my audio doesn't match up with my video. I just offset my video. I did what's called breaking sync. I broke the natural sync relationship because I tried to trim over, add more video while not adding more audio. So just to show you this again, if I push over this way, or if I even take this clip and just push this over while just pushing over video, option click and just push for video, I can throw this off. It's going to throw off Wayne here. Wayne's now over a second off.
And when there's an opportunity to participate.
So here's a problem. The problem is what's called breaking sync. And now let's talk about how you can break sync. So we'll talk about the three ways of breaking sync that you could do. Way one of breaking sync. Well, you could take a clip and you could grab a clip and splice it in on the video. Say, for example, we wanted four clips here of B-roll before this begins. And we can find a piece of B-roll here. We'll find a shot of this, maybe this shot, and we'll just we'll grab 2 seconds of this. Yeah, 2 seconds to change. And we'll grab in here and we'll say, cool, 2 seconds of this, and we're going to splice this in right here, but we're only going to splice this in on video. So splicing in yellow right here, we're going to splice in and we're going to add in video right here. What's it going to do? It's going to add 2 seconds to my video track, but not 2 seconds to my audio track. What's that going to do? Throw me about 48 frames out of sync. So now this looks like this.
A conference that is really geared.
That's a problem. We can't do that. So that's a problem. The other thing we could do is we could remove a clip. If we extract the clip out, hit the X key or hit the scissors and extract the clip out, we're going to remove a clip of video while simultaneously not removing corresponding audio with it. What is that going to do? It's going to shift our timeline. The video is going to move back because extract pulls back to the left. And now, again, we're 48 frames out.
Going to be a conference.
We are out of sync. We have a problem. We are out of sync. The other way of breaking sync, just to be clear, the other way of breaking sync would be to trim on just the video. So if you in here and trim this and push this over, guess what? We just offset ourselves 33 frames because we pushed over the video, but we didn't push over the audio with it. So a couple ideas here. Way one of avoiding breaking sync is these little slashes right here. And in other systems, these are on by default. On Avid, these are not on by default. I know on Premiere, these are normally there. These are called sync locks. And sync locks, you may not even notice them if you work on Premiere. They're there on the time, all the time by default. On Avid, they are not on by default. But let's talk about what they do when they are on by default. So here, if we turn sync locks on, it's going to turn sync locks on all these tracks. So we're going to have sync locks on for all these tracks. Okay, so what's it going to do? Well, if I try to trim this clip over, or say I try to trim this clip over and I make this clip longer, it automatically makes everything else longer. Even though these aren't selected. Even though these aren't selected, it puts little rollers here anyway. It puts these little gray hidden rollers here. We have these off. It puts these little gray rollers. It says, nope, dummy. If you try to do this without sync locks on, this would throw you out of sync. We don't want to do that. So we turn this sync lock on and we say, nope, now it's going to force you to make this longer here like so. And we're going to add this in here and make this work there like an idea. And so that's what sync locks will do for you. It'll prevent you from accidentally breaking sync. And that's wonderful. That's great. They can actually prevent you from breaking sync by making the clips longer, etc., like so. And that's the thing it will do. Other things sync locks will do. If you try to grab a clip, for example, and you said, let's grab this clip and let's extract this clip. And we're going to extract this clip, but sync locks are on. Well, guess what? Sync locks are on. These little, all these slashes are on. Sync locks are on. It'll move everything back. Even though we were just extracting this clip, it moved everything back. Same thing here is if we went here and we said, let's add an endpoint here, and we're going to splice this clip in here. We're going to splice in here, but sync locks are on. We go to splice in, boom, it adds that in there. Now, here's the reason I don't like sync locks. Here's the reason why I don't use sync locks. And here's maybe the reason why Avid doesn't have sync locks on by default. You can have sync locks on by default. You can go to File, Settings, Command-Shift equal, and you can go here to Timeline, and you can choose to, under Edit, default sync locks on. So now every time you're in your project, you can have default sync locks on, or actually this is a user setting. So this is every time you make a new sequence, sync locks are on. They are wonderful. Well, let's not have default sync locks on. I'll tell you why. You can totally, don't get me wrong, you can totally have sync locks on all the time. You can work with sync locks as an idea. It works like a charm. But here's a couple thoughts about sync locks. First of all, Avid, I will admit wholeheartedly, Avid sometimes can be a little bit snobbish about this. They are they're the editing system that Avatar was edited on, and they're the big kid in the block, and everyone talks about Avid as this great system. Sync locks, they're basically training wheels. They're basically, if you ever went bowling, and you use bumper lanes, when you were a little kid, you probably used bumper lanes. So your ball never went to the gutter ball. But professional editors, professional bowlers don't use bumper lanes. No, professional editors don't need sync locks. I think Avid's mentality is sort of know better not to break sync. No ways that you're going to break sync. Okay, I'm going to make this clip a little bit longer like this. What's that going to do? Well, that's going to push this over, but not push this over. So what do? Well, no, I need to make sure, and I can just use shift. I love shift. I can use shift and just add this on here. Well, I need to make this, if I'm going to make this longer, I also want to make the music longer. So I'm going to shift click this and make my music longer here. But I also need to make sure that this pushes over. So I'm going to shift click this. This is the way that I want to do this edit. This is the way that I want to trim this. And I'm going to trim this longer and shorter and make this work like so. That for me is how I want to do this. So I want to make this clip longer, this clip shorter. I want to look at my edit and understand what I'm doing. I want to take this and make this clip longer, but I also want to make this longer, shift click this, and I'm going to push over this and make this longer or shorter, however this needs to be. I want to make this clip longer, but I also want to move this over. So I'm going to shift click that and move this over there. Learn how to do it. Like learn what am I going to do when I do this? If I remove this and I want to remove this, if I want to make this clip shorter, and I want to remove this blank space, I can move this back here. I want to make this clip longer. I want to make this music longer. Again, I'm going to shift click, and then I want to make sure this moves over like so. And I can kind of control it myself. Again, I didn't move the audio. That's going to cause a problem. Again, I make mistakes. But those little sync warnings will help you avoid the mistakes. That's a smarter way to go. And that's really, you learn how to work the edit and you learn how to make the edit make sense by using these controls. So that is something that I think is inherently valuable in terms of trimming, is to look at what the rollers are doing and really understand the rollers. And the way to do this is really just to practice this. You can listen to me talk about this as an idea, but like what happens when I take this, let's say, take this, shift click this. Sorry, we're going to undo that and pull that back there. Oops, not do that. So let's turn this off for a second. Take this, and this. So now I'm going to push this over while making this clip longer and move this. Yeah, there's some things I can do there. That's going to offset this a little bit. But again, there's different combinations of ways you can use rollers. And my other problem with sync locks is sync locks aren't necessarily that smart. So if I go here and I click on sync locks and I cut here, sync locks are going to cut this clip in half and leave a blank gap. It's going to make this clip longer, which is great. Thanks. I appreciate that. Make this clip longer, but it makes this clip longer and cuts a big gap in here, which now the clip looks like this.
Or exposing minority male students to different careers, professionals that work within those.
I didn't necessarily want it to do that. I didn't want to cause a big gap that way. I didn't want to do that. In this case, I want to dual roll, or I want to do something else. I want to do this and, not have sync locks on, and do this instead and have this be longer and push this over like this to have this move like that way. I wanted it to move like that, not this weird cut in the middle of a clip. Again, if I take this clip here and I cut here and I have sync locks on, it's going to cut right in the middle of this music. I know we weren't listening to the music, but just an idea. That's not cool. You could have sync locks on for you could do this. You could have sync locks on for just video A1 and A2 and just have your main content tracks have sync locks on. And then it wouldn't touch the music. But again, I want to have more control of that. I want to edit on a professional level, and I don't want to use training wheels. I don't want to use bumper plates. I don't want to do that in that capacity. So I want to keep this a little bit smoother and have this work a little bit more, natural, I guess. Anyway, that is a little bit about how trimming works. And as you go through, you will learn about trimming, and it will become your best friend. You'll start to notice bad trimming in TV shows and movies that you see and things that just don't work rhythmically. Sometimes, there's nothing you can do because the footage wasn't there or because they didn't get enough coverage, but it is something you're going to want to kind of practice because I can tell a really good editor by how well and smoothly stuff is trimmed, especially dialogue. We'll talk about dialogue trimming in a future lesson. It really is an art form. It really kind of separates, your ability to edit. If you think about any kind of art form, poetry whatever. You can think about, the first draft, is whatever, garbage. But the second, is where you go and trim and you start to cut things out and, change the rhythm and change the pacing. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about for today. Thank you very much. And I'll see you in a future lesson.